The stars looked different from the observation deck of the eternal dawn. Kang Daeho pressed his hand against the cold glass window and stared at the purple planet below. Velcor Prime. After 6 months of traveling through space, humanity had finally found a world worth exploring. The planet was rich with minerals that Earth needed badly, but more importantly, it had intelligent life. Daeho was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life forms, but today he had a different job. He was going to sit at a table with alien beings and share a meal. The Velcorians had invited the human delegation to a formal banquet. It was supposed to be a sign of friendship, a first step toward peace between their two species. Captain Yoon-ji-woo had chosen Daeho for this mission because he was good with people. He learned languages quickly and understood cultural differences better than most. He was also brave, though he never liked to admit it. At 32 years old, he had already spent 10 years working with alien cultures across 3 different star systems. The shuttle ride down to Velcor Prime was smooth. Daeho sat beside Dr. Park Hyun, the ship's chief medical officer. Park was nervous, tapping his fingers against his medical bag. The bag was full of emergency supplies just in case something went wrong. "Do you think they'll actually eat with us?" Park asked quietly. Daeho smiled. "They invited us. That means something. Food is important to almost every culture. Breaking bread together creates trust." The Velcorian capital city was beautiful in a strange way. Buildings made of black stone spiraled toward the sky like twisted trees. The streets glowed with bioluminescent plants that pulsed with soft blue light. The Velcorians themselves were tall creatures with smooth gray skin and large black eyes. They moved with grace, their long fingers gesturing as they spoke in clicking musical voices. The banquet hall was enormous. Long tables stretched across a room decorated with hanging crystals that chimed softly in the breeze. Velcorian nobles dressed in flowing robes waited for the humans to arrive. At the center sat High Chancellor Morvek, the leader of the Velcorian Council. His expression was calm and welcoming. Daeho and the other humans took their seats. There were only 5 humans total. Captain Yoon-ji-woo sat at the head of their group, dressed in her formal uniform. Beside her was Ambassador Lee Tae-min, who would handle the political negotiations. Dr. Park Hyun sat on Daeho's left, still clutching his medical bag. On his right was a young translator named Kang Sora, who happened to be Daeho's younger sister. Sora whispered to him, "I ran every food item through our database. Everything here should be safe for human consumption." The Velcorians were very careful. Daeho nodded. He trusted his sister. She was brilliant with technology and had triple-checked every scan. The feast began. Velcorian servants brought plates of strange foods. Some looked like fruits, others like cooked meat. The Velcorians explained each dish in their clicking language, which the human translators converted to words everyone could understand. Daeho tried everything offered to him. It was his job to show respect and openness. Most of the food tasted bland to human tongues, but one dish stood out. It was a dark purple root vegetable that had been roasted until it was tender. The Velcorians called it sacred, something only served at the most important ceremonies. When the servant offered it to Daeho, he felt honored. "This represents our trust in you," High Chancellor Morvek said through the translator. "We offer you what is most precious to us." Daeho took a piece and ate it. The taste was bitter and earthy, but not unpleasant. He swallowed and smiled at the Chancellor. The Velcorians around the table made clicking sounds that their translators identified as approval, but something was wrong. 10 minutes after eating the root, Daeho felt his stomach twist. He tried to ignore it at first, thinking it was just his body adjusting to alien food, but the pain grew worse. His vision began to blur at the edges. When he looked down at his hands, he saw something terrifying. Black lines were spreading under his skin, following his veins like dark rivers. Dr. Park Hyun noticed immediately. "Daeho, your eyes." Daeho touched his face. He could feel his skin growing cold. The room started spinning. He tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't work properly. He collapsed back into his chair, gasping for air. The banquet hall erupted into chaos. Captain Yoon-ji-woo shouted orders while Dr. Park Hyun pulled out his medical scanner. The device beeped frantically as it analyzed Daeho's blood. Park's face went pale. "Poison," he said. "His system is shutting down." The Velcorians were equally shocked. High Chancellor Morvek stood up, his large eyes wide with horror. "This should not be possible. We tested everything, but not everyone looked surprised. At the far end of the table, a group of younger Velkorian nobles whispered among themselves. One of them, a thin figure with scars across his gray skin, watched Daeho with cold satisfaction. Ambassador Li Taemin noticed this too. Someone did this on purpose. Captain Yoon Ji-woo made a quick decision. We're leaving, now. Get him to the shuttle. 2 security officers lifted Daeho from his chair. He could barely keep his eyes open. The black veins had spread across his entire body now, visible even through his uniform. His breathing was shallow and rapid. Every heartbeat felt like fire in his chest. Dr. Park Hyun worked frantically as they carried Daeho to the shuttle. He injected medicines and ran scan after scan. Nothing worked. The poison was unlike anything in the human medical database. It was killing Daeho cell by cell, and there was no antidote. How long does he have? Captain Yoon Ji-woo demanded. Park looked at his scanner and then at his friend. Less than an hour, maybe 40 minutes. I'm sorry, Captain. I don't know how to stop this. The shuttle lifted off from Velkor Prime. Through the window, Daeho could see the purple planet falling away. He wanted to speak, to tell his sister not to cry, to tell the captain that it wasn't her fault. But his throat wouldn't work anymore. The poison had taken away his voice. Sora held her brother's hand. Tears ran down her face. Stay with us, Daeho, please. But Daeho could feel himself fading. The darkness at the edges of his vision was growing. His body felt heavy and cold. He thought about Earth, about his family, about all the things he would never do. He had survived so much in his life, traveled so far, learned so many things, and now he was going to die because he ate the wrong vegetable at a dinner party. It seemed like a stupid way for everything to end. As consciousness slipped away from him, Daeho noticed something strange. Back at the banquet hall, visible through the shuttle's rear camera, a figure stood in the shadows. It was not a Velkorian. It was something else. Something tall and pale with eyes that glowed red in the darkness. The figure was watching their shuttle leave. Then everything went black and Daeho knew nothing more. The shuttle's engine screamed as it raced back toward the eternal dawn. Inside the small medical bay, Dr. Park Hyun worked with desperate speed. He had connected Daeho to every machine available, but nothing was helping. The black veins had spread to every part of his body. His skin had turned gray. His heartbeat was barely there. Captain Yoon Ji-woo stood in the doorway, her face hard and angry. She was speaking into her communication device, demanding answers from the Velkorian government. But the Velkorians seemed just as confused as the humans. They claimed that the sacred root should have been harmless. Someone had switched it. Someone had tried to kill the human diplomat. Sora sat beside her brother, holding his cold hand. She kept talking to him even though he couldn't hear. Remember when we were kids and you promised to take me to see a real alien city? You kept that promise, Daeho. You brought me here to the stars. You can't leave now. We have so much more to see together. Ambassador Li Taemin checked the shuttle's sensors. We'll dock with the Eternal Dawn in 5 minutes. But Captain, even when we get there, our medical bay won't have anything better than what Dr. Park is using now. This poison isn't in any of our databases. We have no way to fight it. Captain Yoon Ji-woo closed her eyes. She had sent Daeho to that banquet. She had chosen him because he was good at making friends with aliens. And now he was dying because of her decision. The weight of command had never felt heavier. There has to be something, she said. Some treatment, some medicine, something. Dr. Park Hyun shook his head. His hands were shaking. I'm a doctor, not a miracle worker. This poison is destroying his organs faster than I can repair them. I'm sorry, Captain. We're going to lose him. That was when the communication system buzzed with an incoming signal. It wasn't from the Eternal Dawn. It was coming from somewhere on Velkor Prime. Ambassador Li Taemin opened the channel. A face appeared on the screen, but it wasn't a Velkorian face. The woman on the screen was pale, almost white, with sharp features and long silver hair. Her eyes glowed red like burning coals. She spoke in perfect human language. I can save him. Everyone in the shuttle froze. Captain Yoon Ji-woo stepped forward. Who are you? How did you get this frequency? The woman's red eyes never blinked. My name is Lyria. I am not Velkorian. I am something else. I watched what happened at the banquet. I know what poison is inside him, and I know how to cure it. Dr. Park Hyun looked at his scanner again. Daeho had maybe 20 minutes left. Even if you're telling the truth, we're already leaving the planet. There's no time for you to reach us. Lyria's lips curved into a small smile. Check your docking port. Ambassador Lee Taemin pulled up the external camera view. His mouth fell open. A small ship was attached to the shuttle's lower airlock. It was sleek and black, made with technology that looked ancient and alien. How did you get there? We didn't detect anything. I am very old, Lyria said simply. I know how to hide when I want to. Now let me board or the human dies. Captain Yoon Ji-woo's mind raced. This could be a trap. This strange woman could be working with whoever poisoned Daeho. But she looked at the young man dying on the medical table and she made a decision. Let her in, but Lee, keep your weapon ready. The airlock opened with a hiss. Lyria stepped through and everyone understood immediately that she was not like anything they had ever seen. She was tall, taller than any human, and moved with a grace that seemed impossible. She wore a long dark coat that looked like it was made of shadows. Her skin was so pale it almost glowed, and those eyes, those burning red eyes, made everyone in the shuttle feel like prey. Ambassador Lee Taemin raised his plasma pistol. Don't move. Explain what you are first. Lyria looked at the weapon and seemed amused. That won't hurt me much. But I'm not here to fight. I'm here because I choose to be here. She moved past him toward the medical bay. Dr. Park Hyun tried to block her way, but she gently pushed him aside with one hand. Her strength was obvious. She looked down at Daeho's dying form. Blackthorn root poison. I thought so. The Valkorians consider it sacred because it kills slowly and painfully. They use it to execute criminals. Whoever fed this to your friend wanted him to suffer. Can you really cure him? Sora asked, her voice breaking. Lyria nodded. Yes, but the cure comes with a price. He will be changed. And he will be connected to me for a time. Captain Yoon Ji-woo stepped forward. What does that mean? Connected how? Lyria knelt beside Daeho. She touched his cold face with her long fingers. I am Sanguinar. My people are extinct now, but once we were many. We feed on blood to survive. But we also have venom in our bodies. Powerful venom that can heal almost any injury or poison. I can save him by sharing that venom with him. Dr. Park Hyun's eyes widened. You're a vampire. An alien vampire. If that word helps you understand, then yes. Lyria looked at the doctor. But I am not a monster from your human stories. I do not kill. I have not killed in a very long time. I feed carefully and rarely. And right now I am offering to save a life, not take one. Why? Captain Yoon Ji-woo demanded. Why would you help us? What do you want in return? Lyria was quiet for a moment. Her red eyes looked sad. Because I am alone. Because my entire species is gone. And because I have watched humans for many years. You are different from other species. You fight when you should run. You protect the weak. You refuse to give up. I want to see if you are worth saving. And I will start by saving this one. She leaned down over Daeho before anyone could stop her. Her lips touched his and everyone saw her fangs extend. They were thin and sharp like needles made of bone. She bit his lower lip gently, drawing a small amount of his poisoned blood. Then something incredible happened. Lyria's mouth began to glow with silver light. When she pressed her lips to Daeho's again, that light flowed into him like liquid starlight. The black veins in his body started to retreat, fading from his skin. The gray color left his face. His heartbeat grew stronger on Dr. Park's scanner. After what felt like forever, Lyria pulled away. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. It is done. He will live. Dr. Park Hyun checked his scanner again and again. This is impossible. His vital signs are stabilizing. The poison is being neutralized. How? Lyria stood up. My venom is breaking down the poison and repairing the damage. But as I said, there is a price. For the next 7 days, he and I are bonded. He will feel what I feel. I will sense him. If we are separated by too great a distance, we will both experience pain, and his healing will stop. He will die. Captain Yoon Ji-woo's face hardened. So you've made him your prisoner. No. Lyria's voice was sharp. I have saved his life. The bond is temporary. In 7 days it will fade and he will be free. But until then I must stay close to him. Sora looked at her brother. His breathing was normal now. Color was returning to his skin. Will he wake up? Soon, Lyria said. He needs rest. The healing is hard on the body. She looked at Captain Yoon Ji-woo. I know you do not trust me. I would not trust me either. But I have done what I promised. The human lives. Now you must decide what to do with me. Captain Yoon Ji-woo looked at this strange alien woman, this last vampire from a dead species. Every instinct told her to be careful. But Daeho was breathing. He was alive. And that was worth something. "You'll come with us to the Eternal Dawn," the captain said. "You'll be given quarters, but you'll be watched. And if you try anything at all, my people will stop you." Lyria smiled, showing her fangs. "I would expect nothing less." As the shuttle docked with the Eternal Dawn, Daeho's eyes moved beneath his eyelids. He was dreaming, trapped somewhere between death and life, between human and something else. And in his dreams he felt a presence, a cold ancient presence that whispered to him in the darkness, the presence of Lyria, the last vampire in the galaxy. Daeho woke up slowly, like swimming up from the bottom of a deep ocean. Everything felt strange. His body hummed with energy he had never felt before. His senses were too sharp. He could hear the ventilation system in the walls, could smell the recycled air, could feel the vibrations of the ship's engines through the floor. It was overwhelming. He opened his eyes and saw white ceiling panels. He was in the medical bay of the Eternal Dawn. Dr. Park Hyun stood nearby, studying a holographic display of medical data. When he noticed Daeho was awake, his face broke into a huge smile. "Welcome back," Park said. "You gave us quite a scare." Daeho tried to sit up, but his body felt different, heavier somehow. "What happened?" "I remember the banquet, and then the pain, and then nothing." "You were poisoned," Park explained. "Black thorn root. It should have killed you in less than an hour. But someone saved you." That was when Daeho noticed her. Lyria sat in the corner of the medical bay, perfectly still, watching him with those burning red eyes. She looked like a statue carved from pale marble. The sight of her sent a shock through his system. Not fear exactly, but recognition. He knew her somehow, though they had never met. "You," he whispered. Lyria nodded slowly. "Me. How do you feel, Kang Daeho?" "Strange. Like everything is too loud and too bright." He looked at his hands. They seemed normal, but he could feel something moving under his skin, something that wasn't blood. "What did you do to me?" Dr. Park Hyun brought up another holographic display. "She injected you with venom from her species. It neutralized the poison and healed the damage. But it also changed you, at least temporarily. Your reflexes are faster, your senses are enhanced, and your body is stronger than before." Before Daeho could respond, the door to the medical bay opened. Captain Yoon Ji-woo walked in, followed by Ambassador Lee Tae-min and 2 security officers. The captain's face was serious. "I'm glad you're alive, Daeho," she said. "But we need to talk about the situation." Lyria stood up. She moved with that impossible grace, like gravity didn't quite apply to her. "The situation is simple. I saved his life. Now he and I are bonded for 7 days. After that, he will be free." Captain Yoon Ji-woo's eyes narrowed. "Bonded. Explain exactly what that means." Lyria looked at Daeho. "You can feel me, can't you?" "In the back of your mind. A presence that wasn't there before." Daeho realized she was right. There was something there, like a second heartbeat that wasn't his own. He could sense Lyria's location without looking at her. And more than that, he could feel her emotions. Loneliness, guilt, hope. They washed over him like waves. "I feel you," he said quietly. "It's like you're inside my head." "And I feel you," Lyria replied. "Your fear, your confusion, your curiosity. The bond works both ways. For the next 7 days we are connected. If we separate beyond a certain distance, perhaps a few kilometers, we will both feel pain. And your healing will reverse. The poison will return." Ambassador Lee Tae-min crossed his arms. "So you've made him your hostage." "I saved his life," Lyria said coldly. "The bond is not my choice. It is the nature of sanguinar venom. The healing requires a connection between healer and patient. Without it, the venom would be rejected by his body." Captain Yoon Ji-woo made a decision. "Lyria, you will be confined to quarters under guard. You will not move freely around this ship. Daeho, you'll stay in quarters near hers. After 7 days, when this bond breaks, we'll decide what to do next." "Captain, no," Daeho said, surprising everyone. "She saved my life. She didn't have to do that. Keeping her locked up like a criminal isn't right." "She's dangerous," the captain said. "Look at her. She's not human. We don't know what she's capable of." "I am capable of much," Lyria said quietly. "I am faster and stronger than anyone on this ship. I can hear conversations through walls. I could break these bonds if I wanted to." She held up her wrists, showing that Ambassador Lee Tae-min had placed restraints on them at some point, while Dae-ho was unconscious. But I choose not to. I choose to be here. Dae-ho pushed himself out of the medical bed. Dr. Park Hyeon tried to stop him, but Dae-ho waved him off. His legs felt strong, stronger than they should after being near death. Captain, with respect, I'm taking personal responsibility for her. Let her have limited freedom.
I'll stay with her.
If she does anything wrong, it's on me. Captain Yoon Ji-woo studied her crew member. Dae-ho had always been one of her best diplomats precisely because he saw people as people, not threats. But this situation was different. Fine, she said finally. Limited freedom. But Ambassador Lee Tae-min will be watching both of you. One wrong move, Lyria, and you'll spend the rest of the voyage in the brig. Lyria nodded. Understood. The captain and her security team left, though Ambassador Lee Tae-min stayed behind, his hand resting on his weapon. Dr. Park Hyeon removed Dae-ho's medical monitors. I want to see you back here in 12 hours for a full checkup. Your body is still adjusting. When they were finally alone, except for Lee watching from the doorway, Dae-ho looked at Lyria. Why did you really save me? I told you the truth, she said. I am alone. My species is extinct. I have wandered the galaxy for centuries with no purpose. When I saw you dying, I saw an opportunity to do something good, something that might give meaning to my existence. What happened to your people? Lyria's red eyes grew distant. We were hunted, killed. The other species in the galaxy feared us because we fed on blood. They called us monsters. They formed a coalition and wiped us out. I survived because I was away from our homeworld when it was destroyed. I have been alone ever since. Dae-ho felt her sadness through the bond. It was overwhelming, like an ocean of grief. I'm sorry. Do not be sorry for me, Lyria said. My people were not innocent. We did terrible things. We believed we were superior to other species because we were stronger and lived longer. We took what we wanted without asking. When the other species fought back, we had earned their hatred. Over the next day, Dae-ho learned to live with the bond. It was strange having someone else's emotions mixing with his own. But he also learned about Lyria. She told him about her long life, about the world she had seen, about the loneliness of being the last of her kind. She also taught him about the changes in his body. His reflexes were much faster now. When Dr. Park Hyeon ran tests, Dae-ho could catch objects thrown at him without thinking, could react to stimuli before his conscious mind registered them. His strength had doubled. His vision could see into the ultraviolet spectrum. These changes will fade when the bond breaks, Lyria explained. In 7 days you will be fully human again. But something in her tone made Dae-ho wonder if she was telling the complete truth. That night Dae-ho experienced something new. He dreamed, but they weren't his dreams. They were Lyria's memories bleeding through the bond. He saw through her eyes, centuries ago, watching a human colony from a distance. The buildings were burning. People were screaming. And other sanguinar, dozens of them, were feeding on the colonists. Lyria stood apart from the others, her face twisted in horror. She was young then, barely an adult by her species standards. She tried to stop them. But the elder sanguinar pushed her aside. This is our nature, they told her. The weak exist to feed the strong. But young Lyria saw something else. She saw human parents shielding their children. She saw farmers fighting with tools trying to protect their homes. She saw courage in the face of impossible odds. And she realized that the weak were not weak at all. They were something her people had forgotten how to be. They were brave. Dae-ho woke up gasping. His heart was pounding. The dream had felt completely real. He got up and walked to the window of his quarters. The stars looked cold and distant. He heard a knock on his door. It was Lyria. Ambassador Lee Tae-min stood behind her, but he let her enter. She looked at Dae-ho with those ancient eyes. You saw my memory, she said. It wasn't a question. Yes, the burning colony. Your people attacking humans. Lyria nodded. The bond is stronger than I expected. Your mind is touching places in mine that should be locked away. I'm sorry you had to see that. Were you there? Did you kill humans? No, Lyria said firmly. I never killed your people. But I watched it happen and I did not stop it. That makes me guilty too. Dae-ho didn't know what to say. The woman who had saved his life had also witnessed the murder of his kind. But through the bond he could feel her guilt, her shame, her desperate need for redemption. Why do you care so much about humans? He asked. Lyria looked out at the stars. Because you remind me of what my people should have been. You are weak compared to many species in the galaxy. You are new to the stars. You have no great weapons or advanced technology, but you never give up. You protect each other. You stand by your principles even when it costs you everything. That is worth more than strength or long life. Before Daeho could respond, the ship's alarm began to blare. Captain Yoonji-woo's voice came over the intercom. All hands to battle stations. Valkorian warship approaching. They're demanding we hand over Lyria. The bridge of the Eternal Dawn was filled with tension. Captain Yoon-ji-woo stood at her command station, watching the massive Valkorian warship on the view screen. It was 3 times the size of the human colony ship, bristling with weapons that could tear through their shields in seconds. Daeho and Lyria arrived on the bridge with Ambassador Lee Taemin close behind them. Sora was already there, working at the communications station. When she saw her brother, relief flooded her face, but she stayed focused on her work. "They're hailing us again, Captain," Sora reported. "Put them through," Captain Yoon-ji-woo ordered. The view screen changed to show a Valkorian military commander. Unlike the peaceful nobles at the banquet, this one wore armor made of dark metal. His black eyes were cold and angry. "Human vessel Eternal Dawn, I am General Vektar of the Valkorian Defense Fleet. You harbor a dangerous criminal. Surrender the creature called Lyria, or we will take her by force." Captain Yoon-ji-woo stepped forward. "General Lyria is under human protection. She saved the life of one of my crew members. We will not hand her over without evidence of these crimes you claim she committed." General Vektar's face twisted with disgust. "Evidence? That creature is Sanguinar. Her entire species were parasites who fed on other beings. They slaughtered thousands of Valkorians centuries ago. She is the last of them, and she must face justice." Lyria moved to stand beside the captain. Her red eyes met the general's gaze without fear. "I have committed no crimes against your people, Vektar. The Sanguinar who attacked Valkorian colonies were not me. I was barely more than a child when those wars happened." "Lies," the general snarled. "We have records. A Sanguinar named Lyria was present at the massacre of Outpost 7. 300 Valkorian scientists were killed. Their blood was drained. Are you claiming that wasn't you?" For a long moment, Lyria said nothing. Through the bond, Daeho felt a wave of old pain and shame wash over her. Finally, she spoke. "I was there, but I did not kill them. I tried to stop it." "Convenient words from a monster," General Vektar said. "You have 1 hour to surrender her or we open fire." The communication cut off. The bridge was silent for several seconds. Everyone looked at Lyria. Captain Yoon-ji-woo turned to face her directly. "Is what he said true?" "Were you at that massacre?" Lyria nodded slowly. "Yes, I was there." Ambassador Lee Taemin's hand moved toward his weapon. "You lied to us. You said you never killed." "I didn't lie," Lyria said, her voice steady. "I told you the truth. I never killed Valkorians or humans, but I witnessed killings and I could not stop them. When I was young, I believed my elders knew what was right. By the time I understood they were wrong, it was too late." Daeho stepped between Lyria and the ambassador. Through the bond, he could feel she was telling the truth. Her emotions were raw and honest. "Let her explain, please." Captain Yoon-ji-woo considered for a moment, then nodded. "Talk, and it better be the complete truth this time." Lyria moved to the view screen, looking out at the stars. "The Sanguinar were an old species. We evolved on a harsh world where only the strongest survived. We developed the ability to feed on the blood of other creatures and to heal quickly from injuries. As we grew more advanced, we saw ourselves as superior to every other species we encountered." She paused, her hands clenching into fists. "When we reached the stars, we found many other civilizations. Most were weaker than us, easier to dominate. We took what we wanted. We fed without permission. We believed it was our right because we were strong and they were weak. Dr. Park Hyen had joined them on the bridge." "What changed?" "Why are your people extinct now?" "Because the weak species united against us," Lyria continued. "They formed a coalition. Dozens of different civilizations, including the Valkorians, working together for the first time in their histories. They had a common enemy, us, and that gave them purpose. They built weapons specifically designed to kill Sanguinar. They hunted us across the galaxy." Sora pulled up historical records on her console. "I'm finding references to something called the Coalition War. It happened about 400 years ago. Multiple species joined together to fight an enemy described as blood-drinking parasites." "That was us," Lyria said. The war lasted 50 years. My people fought hard, but we were outnumbered. One by one, our worlds fell. I watched my homeworld burn from orbit. I was on a small scout ship, sent away to safety by my mother before the final battle. She died in the defense of our last city. Daeho felt her grief through the bond. It was a pain that had never healed. Centuries old, but still fresh. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Lyria shook her head. "Do not feel sorry for me. My people earned their fate. We were cruel. We took life without thought. The species that destroyed us were right to fight back, but I was young and I did not understand this until it was too late." "Tell us about Outpost 7, Captain Yoon Ji-woo demanded. "The truth. I was 19 years old in human terms," Lyria said. "A group of elder Sanguinar took me with them to raid a Velcorian research station. They said it was training, that I needed to learn how to properly feed. But when we arrived, I saw what they really meant to do. They didn't just want blood. They wanted to send a message of fear." Her red eyes were haunted. "I tried to stop them. I pleaded with them, but I was weak and young. They pushed me aside and told me to watch and learn. So I watched as they killed those scientists. I watched and did nothing because I was a coward." Ambassador Lee Taemin lowered his weapon slightly. "If you were so young and powerless, why does General Vectar blame you specifically?" "Because I was seen," Lyria said. "The Velcorians keep excellent records. Some of the scientists transmitted video before they died. That video showed all the Sanguinar present, including me. To them, I am as guilty as those who actually did the killing. And perhaps they are right." Sora spoke up from her console. "Captain, I'm accessing the Coalition War records. There are multiple accounts of a young Sanguinar who tried to warn targets before raids. Someone who left messages telling people to evacuate before attacks. The records list her as an unknown ally. Could that have been you?" Lyria looked surprised. "I did not know anyone noticed. Yes, after Outpost 7 I tried to warn people. I could not stop my people directly, but I could give their targets a chance to escape. It was not enough, but it was all I could do." Captain Yoon Ji-woo studied the alien woman carefully. "What happened to you after your species was destroyed?" "I survived. I hid. I wandered from world to world, trying to find a purpose. I watched other species from the shadows. I learned their languages, their cultures, their histories. And slowly I came to understand why the universe was right to fight back against the Sanguinar." Daeho asked the question that had been bothering him. "Why did you save me? Why help humans specifically?" Lyria turned to face him. "Because I have been watching humans for a long time. Longer than you might believe. I first encountered your species 300 years ago, when you were still confined to your own solar system. Even then I saw something special in you." She pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. "Humans are weak by galactic standards. You have no natural weapons, no great physical strength, no long lifespans. But you have something better. You have will. When faced with impossible situations, humans do not give up. You fight. You adapt. You survive. You remind me of what the Sanguinar could have been if we had chosen cooperation over domination." Dr. Park Hyun looked thoughtful. "So you see us as a chance for redemption? By saving humans, you're trying to make up for your people's crimes?" "Perhaps," Lyria admitted. "Or perhaps I am simply lonely, and see in humans the only species that might accept me despite what I am." The ship's alarm interrupted them. Sora checked her console. "Captain, the Velcorian warship is charging weapons. We have 30 minutes left." Captain Yoon Ji-woo made a decision. "Ambassador Lee, pull up everything we have on the Coalition War and Sanguinar involvement. If General Vectar wants to talk about crimes, we'll talk about evidence, not just accusations. Sora, send a priority message to Earth Command. Inform them of the situation." She turned to Lyria. "I still don't trust you completely. But Daeho is alive because of you. And from what I'm hearing, you're not the monster the General claims you are. We won't hand you over without a fight." Daeho felt a surge of pride for his captain. This was what humans did best, standing up for what was right even when it was dangerous. Ambassador Lee Taemin pulled up his research. "Captain, I found something interesting. General Vectar has a personal history with the Sanguinar. His family was killed at Outpost 7. This isn't just about justice for him. It's revenge." Captain Yoon Ji-woo nodded grimly. "That makes him even more dangerous. He won't listen to reason." She looked at Lyria. "Is there any way to prove you weren't involved in the actual killings?" "The dead cannot testify on my behalf," Lyria said. "All the Sanguinar who were actually guilty are gone. I am the only one left to blame. Daeho stepped forward. Then we need to find another way. Captain, request a formal hearing. Make the general present his evidence in front of neutral parties. If he's being honest, he'll agree. If he refuses, then everyone will know this is just revenge. Captain Yoon-Ji-woo smiled slightly. That's good thinking. So, open a channel to General Vector. The view screen showed the angry Velkorian comm. The tribunal was held in neutral space, on a massive station called the Crossroads. It was a place where different species met to resolve conflicts without war. The station was ancient, built by civilizations that no longer existed, and maintained by a council of representatives from dozens of worlds. The Eternal Dawn docked alongside the Velkorian warship. Captain Yoon-Ji-woo, Daeho, Lyria, and Ambassador Lee Tae-min prepared to present their case. Dr. Park Hyun and Sora stayed aboard the ship, ready to provide support if needed. The tribunal chamber was enormous, with seating for hundreds of observers from different species. At the center was a raised platform where the judges sat. There were 5 judges, each from a different civilization. They wore formal robes and looked down at the proceedings with serious expressions. General Vector stood on one side of the chamber, surrounded by Velkorian soldiers. He glared at Lyria with pure hatred in his black eyes. Lyria stood calmly beside Captain Yoon-Ji-woo, her face showing no fear. The lead judge, a being made of living crystal that spoke through vibrations, began the proceedings. We are here to determine the guilt or innocence of the individual known as Lyria, the last of the Sanguinar. General Vector, present your evidence. General Vector stepped forward. The evidence is simple. This creature was present at the massacre of Outpost 7. 300 Velkorian scientists were killed by Sanguinar raiders. Video records show her standing among the attackers. She is guilty by presence alone. He activated a holographic display. The video was old and damaged, but clear enough. It showed a group of Sanguinar attacking a research facility. Velkorians ran and screamed while the pale attackers moved with deadly speed. And there, at the edge of the image, was a younger version of Lyria, her face showing horror as she watched the slaughter. The judges studied the video carefully. Murmurs ran through the observers. To many species, the sight of the Sanguinar was terrifying. They had been the monsters that haunted the galaxy's nightmares. Ambassador Lee Tae-min stood up. We do not deny that Lyria was present. But presence does not equal guilt. The video clearly shows her distress. She is not participating in the attack. General Vector sneered. She did nothing to stop it. That makes her guilty. Lyria spoke, her voice carrying across the chamber. He is right. I was there and I did nothing to save those people. I was young and afraid of my elders. I watched evil happen and did not act. If that makes me guilty, then I accept that judgment. The chamber fell silent. Even the judges looked surprised. Criminals usually tried to deny or minimize their actions, but Lyria was doing the opposite. Captain Yoon-Ji-woo placed a hand on Lyria's shoulder. Tell them what you did afterward. Tell them everything. Lyria nodded. She looked up at the judges. After Outpost 7, I could not forget what I had witnessed. I began to leave warning messages at sites my people planned to attack. I transmitted evacuation orders in secret. I saved lives when I could, though never enough. The Coalition records this under unknown ally. That was me. Sora's voice came through the communication system. She was broadcasting from the Eternal Dawn. I'm sending the Coalition records now. There are 73 documented instances where an unknown source warned targets about incoming Sanguinar raids. In 40 of those cases, evacuations were successful because of the warnings. That's approximately 12,000 lives saved. The judges reviewed the data. General Vector looked furious. This proves nothing. She was trying to save herself, not help others. If I wanted to save myself, I would have fled, Lyria said. But I stayed. I tried to change my people from within. I failed and they died for their crimes. I am the last because I deserve to survive the least. I have carried that guilt for 400 years. One of the judges, an insect-like being with multiple eyes, spoke in a buzzing voice. Why do you defend this creature, Captain Yoon-Ji-woo? What is she to humans? Captain Yoon-Ji-woo stepped forward. She saved the life of my crew member. She did not have to. She could have let him die and remained hidden. But she chose to help. That choice tells me who she is now, not who she was centuries ago. Daeho joined her. She has bonded with me to keep me alive. She is feeling every emotion I feel right now. My fear, my hope, my trust in her. That bond could have been used to control me, but she hasn't. She treats me as an equal, as a friend. General Vectar's face twisted with rage. This tribunal is a waste of time. The creature admits her guilt. She should be executed immediately. But the lead judge raised a crystalline hand. We will deliberate on the evidence presented. This tribunal will resume in 1 hour. The judges left the chamber. The observers began talking among themselves. General Vectar stormed out, his soldiers following him. Captain Yunjiwoo led her group to a private waiting room. I think we have a chance, Ambassador Lee Taemin said. The judges seemed moved by her honesty. But Lyria shook her head. They will rule against me. General Vectar will not accept any other outcome, and he has the military power to enforce his will regardless of what the judges decide. Daeho felt her resignation through the bond. You're giving up? I am being realistic, Lyria replied. I have lived too long to believe in perfect justice. The general wants revenge for his family. The galaxy wants to erase the last reminder of the Sanguinar. I cannot fight the entire galaxy. Captain Yoon Ji-woo looked frustrated. So what do you suggest? We just hand you over? Lyria was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, there is another option. A duel. Ambassador Lee Taemin frowned. What kind of duel? The Velkorians have an ancient tradition, Lyria explained. When two parties cannot agree, they settle disputes through single combat. If I challenge General Vectar and win, he must accept the tribunal's judgment, whatever it is. If I lose, I die and the matter is settled. That's insane, Sora's voice came through the communicator. You'd be fighting an entire military commander. I am Sanguinar, Lyria said simply. I am stronger and faster than any Velkorian. I will win the combat. Daeho grabbed her arm. And what happens to me? We're bonded. If you die, doesn't that break the healing? Lyria looked at him with sad, ancient eyes. The bond has held for 5 days. You are strong enough now to survive without me. The healing is almost complete. Through the bond, Daeho felt she was hiding something. You're lying. There's something you're not telling me. Before Lyria could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Sora's panicked voice came through. Captain, the Velkorian warship is powering weapons. They're targeting the Eternal Dawn. Captain Yoon Ji-woo ran back to the tribunal chamber. General Vectar was there, his hand on a control device. I am tired of waiting for justice, he announced. The creature will surrender now, or I will destroy the human ship and everyone aboard it. The judges tried to intervene, but Velkorian soldiers aimed weapons at them. This was no longer a tribunal. It was a hostage situation. Lyria stepped forward. I accept the challenge of single combat, General. Face me yourself or prove that you are a coward who hides behind his weapons. General Vectar's eyes narrowed. You think I fear you, monster? I have trained my entire life for the chance to kill a Sanguinar. I accept your challenge. The rules were quickly established. The combat would take place in the center of the tribunal chamber. No weapons beyond natural abilities. The fight would continue until one party surrendered or died. All other parties would stand down and accept the results. As preparations were made, Daeho pulled Lyria aside. You don't have to do this. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Lyria said gently. The general will not stop until I am dead. At least this way I die with honor and your people go free. I won't let you do this alone, Daeho said. Through the bond, he pushed all his determination, all his human stubbornness at her. Velkorian tradition allows for a second. Someone to stand witness and support the primary fighter. I'll be your second. Lyria started to protest, but she felt his resolve through the bond. You are still recovering. You should not risk yourself. Too bad, Daeho said. You saved my life. Now I'm going to help you fight for yours. That's what humans do. Captain Yoon Ji-woo overheard this. Daeho is right. If we're going to stand by our principles, we stand all the way. You won't face this alone, Lyria. The combat began. General Vectar was a skilled warrior, larger and more experienced than Lyria had expected. He wore ceremonial armor that enhanced his natural strength. But Lyria was Sanguinar, and her people had been apex predators for millions of years. They moved around each other with deadly grace. Vector struck first, fast and powerful. Lyria dodged easily, her movements almost too quick to follow. She could have ended the fight in seconds, but she held back, showing restraint even in combat. Fight me properly, monster, Vectar snarled. Or are you afraid? I am not afraid, Lyria replied calmly. But I do not wish to kill you. Your death will not bring back your family. Do not speak of them, Vectar roared. He attacked again, this time with everything he had. The fight became brutal. Lyria was forced to fight seriously using her full abilities. She was winning, driving Vectar back when everything went wrong. One of Veclyria moved faster than anyone had ever seen a Sanguinar move. Her eyes blazed with red fire and her fangs extended fully. She became a blur of deadly motion, disarming every Velkorian guard in the chamber before they could fire another shot. But she did not kill them. Even in her rage, she showed restraint, knocking weapons away and breaking arms instead of necks. She pinned the guard who had shot Deho against the wall, her hand around his throat. You broke the sacred rules of combat. You are without honor. General Vectar stood frozen, realizing what his soldier had done. The judges were already calling for his arrest. By allowing his guard to interfere, Vectar had violated the tribunal's most sacred laws. His case against Lyria was destroyed, but Lyria didn't care about any of that. She released the guard and ran to where Deho lay on the floor. Captain Yoon Jiwoo was already there, along with Ambassador Lee Taemin. Sora's voice came through the communicator, screaming her brother's name. Dr. Park Hyeon rushed into the chamber with a medical team. He scanned Deho and his face went pale. The plasma bolt burned through his chest. Massive internal damage. His heart is barely beating. I don't know if I can save him. Lyria knelt beside Deho's body. Blood pooled beneath him, far too much blood. His face was pale and still. Through their fading bond, she could feel his life slipping away like water through her fingers. No, she whispered. Not him. Not because of me. Captain Yoon Jiwoo grabbed her shoulder. Can you save him again? Like you did before? Lyria shook her head. The bond is already in place. I cannot create another one so quickly. My venom needs time to regenerate, and his body is too damaged. Even if I could, it might not be enough. Dr. Park Hyun worked frantically, trying to stabilize Deho's vital signs. Captain, we need to get him back to the Eternal Dawn immediately. Our medical bay might have a chance, but Lyria stopped them. Wait, there is one possibility. A full bonding. Deeper than before, permanent. Everyone looked at her. Ambassador Lee Taemin asked, what does that mean? When a Sanguinar saves someone the first time, the bond is temporary, Lyria explained quickly. But there is a second ritual rarely performed. It rewrites the saved person's genetic code completely. They become something between human and Sanguinar. They gain our strength, our lifespan, our abilities, and the bond between us becomes permanent, lasting for the rest of our lives. Dr. Park Hyun's eyes widened. You're talking about transforming him into another species. Not fully, Lyria said. He would still be human in most ways, but he would be changed forever. He would live for centuries instead of decades. He would need blood to sustain himself, though not as much as a true Sanguinar. And he would always be connected to me. He would feel my emotions and I would feel his for as long as we both live. Captain Yoon Jiwoo looked at Deho's dying form. Can you do this without his permission? He can't consent right now. No, Lyria said. I need consent from someone who speaks for him. Everyone turned to look at the communication screen. Sora's face appeared, tears streaming down her cheeks. She could see her brother dying through the camera feed. Sora, Captain Yoon Jiwoo said gently. You're his family. You need to decide. We can try to get him to the medical bay, but Dr. Park says his chances are very small. Or Lyria can perform this ritual, but Deho will be changed forever. Sora looked at her brother's still face. She thought about their childhood together, about how Deho had always protected her, had always stood up for what he believed was right. She thought about how he had defended Lyria even when everyone else was afraid. He would want to live, Sora said, her voice breaking. He would choose life, and he would choose to stand by someone who needed him. Do it, save him. Lyria nodded. She carefully lifted Deho's head and looked at Dr. Park Hyun. Clear the area around us. This ritual requires concentration, and it will be intense. The medical team stepped back. Lyria cradled Deho's broken body in her arms. She closed her eyes and began to speak in an ancient language that no one present understood. It was the language of the Sanguinar, musical and strange. Her fangs extended again, longer this time. She bit her own wrist and silver blood flowed from the wound. She pressed her bleeding wrist to Deho's lips, forcing the liquid into his mouth. Then she bit his neck, not to feed, but to create a connection directly to his bloodstream. Light began to emanate from both of them. Silver light, like liquid starlight, spread through Deho's veins. His body convulsed. The wound in his chest began to close, flesh and bone knitting back together at a speed that seemed impossible. But it was not gentle. Daeho's back arched. His eyes snapped open, but they were not his normal eyes. They glowed red like Lyria's. His hands clenched into fists, his fingers becoming tipped with claws that looked like hers. His fangs extended sharp and deadly. Dr. Park Hyun watched his scanner in amazement. His DNA is rewriting itself. His cells are changing. This is incredible and terrifying. The light grew brighter and brighter until everyone had to shield their eyes. Then suddenly it vanished. Daeho gasped and fell back, breathing hard. Lyria caught him, holding him steady. For a moment, Daeho looked completely inhuman. His skin was pale like Lyria's. His eyes burned red. His fangs gleamed in the chamber's light. Then slowly the changes began to fade slightly. His skin regained some of its color. His fangs retracted. His eyes dimmed to their normal brown, though they seemed to catch the light differently now. Daeho, Sora's voice came through the communicator, desperate and hopeful. Daeho looked around, confused. Everything was too bright, too loud. He could hear heartbeats from across the chamber. He could smell fear and blood and metal. His body felt wrong, too strong, too fast, too alive. "What happened to me?" he whispered. His voice sounded different, deeper. Lyria helped him sit up. "I saved you again. But this time the change is permanent. You are no longer fully human, Daeho. I'm sorry. It was this or let you die." Daeho looked at his hands. They looked normal, but he could feel the strength in them. He could feel Lyria's presence in his mind, stronger than ever before. But it was different now. Before, the bond had felt like an intrusion. Now it felt natural, like she had always been a part of him. Dr. Park Hyun scanned him again. "Your vital signs are stable. Better than stable, actually. Your heart is stronger. Your blood is oxygenating more efficiently. Your cellular regeneration rate is off the charts. Daeho, you're going to live a very long time." "How long?" Daeho asked. Lyria met his eyes. "Perhaps 1,000 years. Perhaps longer. True sanguinar can live for millennia. You are not fully sanguinar, but you are no longer limited by human lifespan." Captain Yoon Ji-woo knelt beside them. "How do you feel?" Daeho thought about it. Strange, powerful, scared, but alive. He looked at Lyria. "Thank you, again." "Do not thank me," Lyria said softly. "I have taken your humanity from you. You will outlive everyone you know. Your sister, your friends, everyone, because of me. I'm not dead," Daeho said firmly. "That's what matters. We'll figure out the rest." Across the chamber, General Vektar was being taken into custody by station security. The judges had declared his case invalid due to the violation of combat rules. But more than that, they had seen Lyria's restraint even when attacked, and they had seen a human sacrifice himself to protect her. The lead judge approached them. "Lyria of the Sanguinar, this tribunal finds you innocent of the specific crimes charged by General Vektar. However, we cannot ignore your people's history. We propose a conditional freedom. You will work with the human delegation as an ambassador and cultural advisor. You will prove that your kind can coexist peacefully with others. If you succeed, your freedom becomes permanent. Do you accept these terms?" Lyria looked at Captain Yoon Ji-woo, who nodded. Then she looked at Daeho, who squeezed her hand. "I accept," Lyria said. Sora's voice came through the communicator again. "Daeho, can you hear me?" "I hear you, little sister," Daeho replied. Even through the communicator, his enhanced hearing picked up the relief in her voice. "You're different now," Sora said. "I can see it even through the camera." "Are you still you?" Daeho smiled. "I'm still me, just a longer-lasting version." The medical team helped Daeho to his feet. He was unsteady at first, adjusting to his new strength and senses. Lyria stayed close, guiding him. Through their permanent bond, she shared her centuries of experience, teaching him how to control his new abilities. As they walked back toward the docking bay, Ambassador Lee Tae-min fell into step beside them. "The galaxy is going to have a lot of questions about this. A human transformed by sanguinar venom. It's unprecedented." "Good," Captain Yoon Ji-woo said. "Let them wonder. Maybe it will make them think twice before making assumptions about what's possible." Back on the Eternal Dawn, Sora rushed to meet her brother at the airlock. She stopped when she saw him, taking in the subtle changes. His movements were more graceful. His eyes seemed to glow faintly in the dim corridor. But when he smiled at her, it was the same smile she had known her whole life. "I'm still your annoying older brother," Daeho said. That hasn't changed. Sora hugged him carefully as if afraid he might break. You feel different, stronger, and colder. My body temperature is lower now, Daeho explained. It's a sanguinar trait, but I'm okay, Sora. I prom 3 days after the tribunal, the message arrived. It came from the Galactic Council, the most powerful governing body in known space. The council represented over 200 species and had existed for thousands of years. Their word was law across most of the galaxy. Captain Yoon-ji-woo read the message aloud to her senior staff. Daeho and Lyria stood at the back of the conference room, drawing worried glances from some crew members who still weren't comfortable with the changes. The Galactic Council demands the immediate surrender of the individual known as Lyria, the captain read. Furthermore, they demand a full examination of the human Kang Daeho to determine the extent of his transformation. Failure to comply will result in the expulsion of humanity from the Council and the revocation of all trade agreements and diplomatic protections. Ambassador Lee Tae-min slammed his hand on the table. They're threatening us. They want to treat Lyria like a criminal and Daeho like a lab specimen. Dr. Park Hyen looked troubled. The Council has immense power. If they cut us off, humanity will be isolated. Our colonies need resources from other worlds to survive. We can't just ignore them. Sora, who had been promoted to Senior Communications Officer after her work during the crisis, spoke up. What does Earth Command say? Captain Yoon-ji-woo pulled up another message. Earth Command is asking for more time to negotiate, but they're also considering compliance. The political pressure is enormous. Many species on the Council are afraid. The Sanguinar were extinct, and now one lives again. And worse, from their perspective, she has created a hybrid. Daeho stepped forward. I won't let them take Lyria, and I won't let them experiment on me like I'm some kind of thing instead of a person. No one is suggesting we hand you over, Captain Yoon-ji-woo said firmly. But we need a strategy. We have 48 hours to respond. Lyria remained silent, her red eyes distant. Through their bond, Daeho felt her sadness and guilt. She blamed herself for bringing this trouble to humanity. The meeting continued for hours. Some crew members argued for compliance, fearing what isolation would mean for humanity. Others insisted that giving in would mean abandoning their principles. The debate grew heated. Finally, Captain Yoon-ji-woo called for silence. I need time to think. We'll reconvene in 6 hours. Dismissed. As people filed out, Lyria approached the captain. I can end this. If I leave voluntarily, the Council will have no reason to threaten humanity. No, Daeho said immediately. We're bonded now. Where you go, I go. That's how this works. You would abandon your species for me? Lyria asked. I would stand by someone who saved my life twice, Daeho replied. That's what humans do. Captain Yoon-ji-woo studied them both. Give me those 6 hours. I'm not giving up yet. Later, in his quarters, Daeho practiced his new abilities. He had learned to control his strength better, no longer breaking door handles or cracking floor panels when he walked. His senses were becoming more manageable too, though loud noises still hurt. Sora visited him, carrying a data pad. I've been researching the Galactic Council's history. Did you know that humanity isn't the first species they've threatened with expulsion? Really? Daeho asked, curious. There were the Kresh, about 50 years ago. The Council threatened them over some trade dispute. But the Kresh refused to back down, and other species supported them. The Council eventually backed off because they couldn't afford to look weak. Daeho thought about this. So the Council can be pressured if enough species stand against them. Exactly, Sora said. The problem is convincing other species to support us. Most of them are afraid of the Sanguinar. They remember the Coalition War. Then we need to change their minds, Daeho said. Show them that Lyria isn't a threat. Show them what humanity stands for. That gave him an idea. He went to find Captain Yoon-ji-woo and proposed a plan. 6 hours later, the senior staff reconvened. Captain Yoon-ji-woo stood at the head of the table with a determined expression. I've made my decision, she announced. We will not surrender Lyria to the Council. We will not submit Daeho for examination like he's a specimen. Instead, We're going to make a public statement. Ambassador Lee Taman leaned forward. What kind of statement? An honest one, the captain said. We're going to broadcast to every species on the council. We're going to tell them Lyria's story, how she tried to save people during the Coalition War, how she has lived peacefully for 4 centuries, how she saved Deho's life not once but twice, asking nothing in return. And we're going to tell them that humanity will not abandon those under our protection, no matter the cost. Dr. Park Hyen looked worried. Captain, that's a huge risk. We're a young species. We don't have the political weight to challenge the council. You're right, Captain Yoon Ji-woo agreed. We don't have political weight. But we have something better. We have a story that people will remember. And sometimes a good story is more powerful than any weapon. Sora began setting up the broadcast equipment. Daeho and Lyria would speak directly to the galaxy, with Captain Yoon Ji-woo beside them. It was a calculated gamble. Either it would sway public opinion, or it would make humanity look foolish. The broadcast went live. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds received the transmission. They saw Lyria standing beside Daeho, neither hiding nor ashamed. They saw a human captain standing with them, unafraid. Lyria spoke first. My name is Lyria. I am the last Sanguinar. My people committed terrible crimes, and we were rightfully destroyed for them. I do not ask for forgiveness for what my species did, but I ask you to see what I am doing now. I have lived for centuries trying to atone. I have saved lives where I could, and I saved this human because it was the right thing to do. Daeho spoke next. My name is Kang Daeho. I was human, and I still am in the ways that matter, but I was transformed by Sanguinar venom to save my life. I didn't ask for this change, but I accept it. Lyria could have let me die. She could have stayed hidden and safe, but she chose to help, knowing it would expose her to danger. That tells me everything I need to know about who she is. Captain Yoon Ji-woo finished the message. I am Captain Yoon Ji-woo of the human vessel Eternal Dawn. Humanity is new to the galactic community. We are weak compared to most of you. We have few resources and little political power, but we have principles. We believe that people should be judged by their actions, not their species. We believe in standing by those who stand by us. We will not surrender Lyria to a council that wants to execute her without giving her a chance. If that means humanity is expelled from the council, then so be it. Some things are worth the cost. The broadcast ended. There was nothing to do but wait for the response. It came faster than anyone expected. Within hours, messages began arriving from other species. The first came from the Velcorian government. To everyone's surprise, they publicly supported humanity's stance. High Chancellor Morvek released a statement praising Lyria's restraint during the tribunal and condemning General Vektar's actions. More messages followed. Younger species that had joined the council recently began speaking out. They questioned why the council was so eager to punish Lyria when she had committed no recent crimes. They pointed out that many council species had dark histories, but were not held eternally accountable. The tide of public opinion began to shift. Journalists across the galaxy picked up the story. Images of Daeho and Lyria standing together, a human and the last vampire, captured imaginations. The phrase, "humanity stands by its friends," began trending on communication networks. But the council was not ready to give up. They called an emergency session to debate the issue. Representatives argued for days. Some species demanded Lyria's execution. Others argued for clemency. The debate became so heated that several species threatened to leave the council entirely if they didn't get their way. Finally, a compromise was reached. The council would not demand Lyria's surrender or Daeho's examination, but Lyria would be placed on probationary status. She would work with humanity as an official cultural advisor and ambassador. Her actions would be monitored. If she committed any crimes, she would face immediate judgment. But if she proved herself peaceful, her freedom would become permanent. It was not a perfect solution, but it was enough. When the decision came through, the entire crew of the Eternal Dawn celebrated. They had stood up to the most powerful organization in the galaxy and won, not through force but through principle. Deho found Lyria standing at the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Through their bond, he felt her relief mixed with lingering sadness. "You're still feeling guilty," he said, joining her. "Always," Lyria admitted. "My people's crimes do not fade simply because I chose a different path." "No," Deho agreed. "But you're not your people. You're you. And you've spent 400 years trying to be better. That has to count for something." Lyria looked at him. "Your sister told me something interesting earlier. She said that you are no longer entirely human, but you have become something better. A bridge between species. A symbol of what cooperation can create." "Sora always was smarter than me," Deho said with a smile. "What will you do now?" Lyria asked. "You can live for centuries. Your life has only just begun."